we find out how many cups of coffee Niko is in this morning, and we go to the studio setup. Oh, check that out, my friend. Look at that. You were gassed up and ready to go. What's on your mind?
What's up, boss man? I was trying to figure like a nice background with this TV new thing that I tried, but it was
Yeah.
not working. But I'm here. I'm here. Eventually, I should have a decent background. But happy to be on. Excited. A lot of talk about. Of course, it's been the week that many have waited for a long time with the calendar change. I think that MLS has honestly outdone themselves with some really good decisions that maybe should have been made from the very beginning. But all in all, I'm happy with everything that MLS has kind of put out this week.
Yep, and that's going to be where we lead off. And the decisions yesterday, we were on yesterday afternoon, in addition to our Tata Martino discussion, to discuss what Major League Soccer is now going to do. And the teams have come out once again unilaterally in favor of it. For those that might still be a little wonky on the math, they're going to begin play on what we now refer to as the international calendar. Mid-July through mid-May, July 27 through May of 28. The new format will kick in 27. We're still trying to wait. There were some published reports as to whether or not you're going to go single table, whether you're going to have 5 or 6 divisions when it comes to your scheduling. That stuff is being talked about. It's not official yet. We don't know. But you're going to have a winter break. You're going to have the summer break. You're going to have that sprint season that it was referred to initially, that transitional time with the 14-game madness that's going to be there from February through May of 27. Then you're going to go into your new calendar. I'm intrigued by it. And I mean, now that, and this is what we were getting into the conversation with Nino before you, when Nino was covering Columbus decade 15 years ago, it was still, you're transitioning out of playing at Ohio State University and you're playing in your own barn. Seattle has always been in their own barn, regardless of where it is. You've always had Lumen. You've always been in Soto. That hasn't been an issue. It hasn't been that way for every single franchise in Major League Soccer. But now that you're to the point to where NYC is finally building their barn, you're getting everybody now on the same page where they can control their own dates, and they're not having to fight monster truck rallies and concerts and everything just to get a date in for an MLS match. Now that you've got your own venues, you make this switch and everything is in line.
Yes, I think that there's a couple of things to hit on here, specifically for the Sounders. And you know, Charlotte and Atlanta, of course. The biggest question I got was, you know, with this change of format, change of calendar, you're overlapping with all of the Seahawk and all the NFL scheduling, right? But the good thing is that you do it early in the year, where it's a lot easier to manage, a lot easier to modify. You know exactly what the NFL calendar is going to look like, rather than it being playoffs and the Sounders are having to figure out if they're going to play a U.S. Up Cup semifinal at Starfire because Lumen's not available, or if there's a playoff game and now you don't know if you're going to have to play it in Spokane, as there's been times that you were thinking about you have to do.
Yeah.
All of those things get eliminated with the change of the calendar. So that's, I feel like that's a good thing. Also, a lot of people who are freaking out, to be honest. I mean, that I got people on my DMs, season ticket holders, saying, "Look, I'm not gonna renew. This is just craziness."
Seriously?
But when you go back and you look at it, I mean, you know, 90% of the footprint for the year is going to be the same as with the current format, right? I mean, sure, the when the tournament starts and when it ends, that's changing, but not necessarily the times of the month when they're being played. So I'm just excited about it, man. I think that regardless of what's happening, MLS is already trending in the right direction of a lot of clubs knowing that they have to build their own soccer specific stadium. Here in Seattle, it's created a lot of intrigue because after the Sounders decided to publicly go out and look for investors, and Renton being where most people think that the new stadium is going to be created, it's been very controversial.
Hmm.
Because do you take the Sounders out of Seattle and take away that cultural feel of doing the march at Pioneer Square and everything that surrounds doing things in the city of Seattle, right? And now you move it to Renton, which is kind of an industrial area, especially where, Long Acres is right now, right? The Sounders soccer facility is not in the most optimal place for a tailgate or a post game gathering, right? I mean, I can understand why people are skeptical. Now, what we've been talking about on this side is, what if you make it an unreal experience? What if moving to Renton makes it so you can have a stadium with this grand entrance with the statue of Brian Smetzer, Nicolas Lodero greeting you at the parking lot? Now you get to name, your ring of honor truly as part of the stadium. I don't know, put up a museum with the achievements of the Sounders. You create almost this mecca of soccer. And a lot of people are going to not want to do that because they're so focused on the city of Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get there and you look at it, it might change your mind. But to me, I would like the Sounders to continue to stay in Seattle. But I feel like that's a conversation that a lot of clubs in MLS are going to start having, and that we're going to have, regardless of whether there was going to be a calendar change or not.
USA and Morocco about ready to kick off in Qatar. We'll keep an eye on that. U.S. is in those killer blue bomb pop kits and going up against Morocco, who has been a thorn in their side collectively. It is a Canadian referee crew it's a Mexico referee crew in this particular matchup in the first 45. U.S. is going to be going in their bomb pop kits from right to left as you picture the match in your mind's eye. We'll keep an eye on that on the Big 55 for the rest of the show. One of the other things that we didn't get into yesterday specifically about the decisions with Major League Soccer was the fact that they are taking season pass out from behind the paywall. And it is now being integrated into your subscription for Apple TV. And there's also the idea that you can bundle Apple TV and Peacock together for a certain price. So now, because of Major League Baseball, because of Formula One, which is now coming into Apple TV, now you've got Major League Soccer as a part of the sports programming that's being built at Apple. And so it's being pulled out and it's being put with everything else under normal circumstances where if you want to watch it, you can watch it. You don't have to take the extra steps to go watch it starting next year.
This is the way it should have always been. And it was part of how confusing and convoluted it was to just figure it out. We did a show yesterday with the guys from Love and Scorchers, and I was telling them, look, the first time I tried to explain it to my dad, who's older, who is what I would call a casual MLS follower, mainly for the Sounders, he, as a guy that doesn't really work well with tech, he just didn't get why there was two paywalls. He's like, I don't get it. So is Apple TV and is MLS, why don't they just do their own app? I mean, it's weird. And now I feel like you're simplifying it. You are reaching to a bigger audience. You're going to get a spectrum of new people. And when you are just months away from the World Cup, this is the perfect time to do it, to open that up, to take away that wall, and let your product on the field be what draws people in. Because look, you and I, and there's many of us out there who are advocates for the league, know the growth of the league and the talent that they're currently there. And if you make it simpler and people can watch it, more people can watch it, the more it's going to grow. So for me, it's a home run. And I don't know if I call it a home run, maybe just a double, because it seems like that's the way it should have always been.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm just glad that that's what they decided to do. There is no other reason that this is happening, that whether they've shared the numbers with those or not, something's not working. If they're willing to do this, to me, it just seems like they saw something. They're like, look, maybe if we open this up this way, we're going to have more people, more viewers. So I'm hoping that that's the case, right? Because that's the whole point, is to just add more viewers.
Yeah, and doing that in a Cup cycle where the entire world is chasing after a trophy next year, and it's going to be in your hemisphere to open yourself up to. And the number was floated out there that Apple has in the neighborhood of 45 million subscribers. If you can open yourself up, like I said, Formula One's coming in the door. MLS taking away season pass, and you're part of the normal distribution. Major League Baseball already there. So Apple has these products that are here, and now you're aligning yourself with them, and especially that big gun that's Formula One coming in. You can sit there and everybody's like, you're on Apple already. Oh, I'm going to watch Shrinking. Oh, okay, there's an MLS match on. I think I'll go over here. So it normalizes it, I guess, when it comes to your viewing choices, I guess is probably the best way that I can describe it, bringing it back with everybody else that's a part of their sports portfolio.
Exactly. It's just so much simpler. You are adding the casual viewer a lot simpler, right? I mean, look, Apple, you got to take advantage of the fact that Apple TV, I mean, we're not going to get into this subject, but they have some great television, right? They got great series, they got great movies. I mean, you talk about Shrinking, you talk about Task. I mean, there's so many. Not Task.
You got Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso, right? I mean, you got all of this other series that draw people in to just go watch those series and those movies, and now you're a step away from watching MLS rather than having to do a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, and it looks like the center ref in the USA Morocco match is going to kind of let things go just a little bit because Nemfasa Berkimis just got basically tackled outside the edge of the 18, and nothing was called. Sorry to say Peruvian crew. Roberto Perez Gutierrez is the man in charge. So a Peruvian crew, and Morocco just missed wide to the far post. So halfway through the 5th minute, goalless in Qatar in the U17s. The other stuff that I wanted to discuss with you this morning has to do with round number 1 and the offseason and folks that didn't make it out of round number 1. And we haven't had the chance to catch up since Andrew Thomas hit the crossbar flush with one of the hardest shots, I think, in the 10th frame that I've seen in quite some time. And I made the point on Monday. I said, I give Andrew Thomas all of the credit in the world because as folks are coming up trying to console him, the first words out of his mouth are, my bad. It's my fault. He's owning up to the entire thing after Seattle gets bounced in the 10th frame in a best-of-3 to Minnesota, and Minnesota moves on next weekend.
The irony there is that Andrew Thomas is just as confident stopping shots as he is putting them in the back of the net. We see it in practice all the time. He is, almost a given when it comes to shooting from the penalty shot. I mean, he's a guy that consistently put it away. He is, he practices a whole lot. It's not like it was odd to him, and he just seemed like he wasn't going to be Seattle's night regardless. And it's a shame because he had this almost movie-like start to the shootout, right? He goes the right way. He forces the shot wide, dislocates his finger. Then, he's yelling. And if you know Andrew Thomas, I tell you that's a tough dude. Like, he is a guy that's not going to be yelling for no reason. So when I saw his expression, I knew it was a big deal. They lock it back into place. They tape him up, put the glove on, and he's out there just making a difference, right? He gives this team every chance to win that penalty kick shootout. And unfortunately, Obed doesn't put it away. Osasa just it's a bad PK. I mean, it was just a series of things that happened for Seattle to just lose that game. But it all goes back to how it started, right? The Sounders should have never been in that situation. Up 2 goals, up a man.
Mm-hmm.
The inability of taking advantage of a team that had 10 less players.
Mm-hmm.
How you allow 2 players in 2 different occasions for a player to go undefended to the back post when you have an extra guy on the field is wild to me. How is he unmarked?
Mm-hmm.
How do we have a clear advantage on the number of players on the field and that happens? I mean, I hate to call it a choke job, but that's kind of what it was, right? Seattle was unable to hold the lead, with all the advantage, all of the momentum. They started the game perfectly.
Yeah.
And this is where I wanted to kind of put things at, because as the commonly known Brian Spencer hater, this was not on Brian. Brian did everything he could to win this game. I thought that the decision to bring in Andrew Thomas was hard for him. It was unnatural, right? Almost. He was struggling with that decision, and he makes it, and it works. And unfortunately, he doesn't end up getting the result. I thought that the initial setup was good. I thought that the team had the right idea to how to start this game off. The mentality was there. Now, some of his substitutions, although timely, maybe could have been different. Maybe, you could have not taken Ferrer off. Maybe you could have brought Georgie in instead of Paul Rothrock. But at the end of the day, this is on the players. Is a clumsy mistake by Yamar that ends up allowing Pereira to take that PK on top of the 18.
Mm-hmm.
It is a team that should have been ready for that little flick in the back end where Obed just doesn't defend the guy coming in. I mean, there were so many individual errors in this game that you got to put it on the players. Not always is it the coach's fault that things happen like this. But to conclude everything, Andrew Thomas, if anything, showed you that he's ready to lift the torch, get it from Steph. He's going to be the guy for the future. He's going to be the goalkeeper, in my opinion, as a starter in 2026. Okay. And look, what better way to come out and be your come out party than you showing that sort of determination and sacrifice that he did during those PK shootouts.
Yeah, and you started, for those that follow your timeline, you started discussing roster decisions and things like that. We have gone over what Seattle has to be staring at when it comes to who's available, what's it looking like, all of that. And just for a refresher, just so everybody knows where you're coming from when it comes to your thoughts and all of the stuff that's attached to Seattle coming up here in the offseason. Once again, remember, you don't have to make decisions until the 11th of December. So you've got a little less than a month if you are in Major League Soccer to figure things out. Some teams have already made some decisions and they've put them out there in the ether. Just so everybody knows, your DPs are locked in. Rusnak through 26, option 27, De La Vega and Morris through 27. De La Vega has an option year for 28. The decisions that have to be made. Yamar has an option year for 26. Ryan Kent, an option year for 26. John Bell is out of contract. Stefan Fry is out of contract. Musovski has an option year. Nuhu has an option year. JP has an option year. That's in your senior roster. Supplementals, Jacob Castro as a homegrown has an option year. De Rosario has the contract is through this year with 2 option years, 26 and 27. Kim Ki-hee has an option year for 26. KKR, Kalani Kosarienzi has option years for 26 and 27. Paul Rothrock out of contract. Travian Sosa unavailable on loan, but his contract is through this year. Option years for 6 and 7. Obed Vargas is a homegrown. He has a contract through this year. Option for 26. And then Leo Burney, who is a supplemental spot 21. He's on loan, but he has 3 option years after this. How difficult are these decisions, or how difficult should they be for Seattle coming into next year?
Some are easier than others, but there are 2 very difficult ones, and we'll talk about this here in a second. Yeah. I have reported already that Yamar Gomez Andrade's option has been picked up for 2025, as well as Danny Musovski. That should be no surprise. I'm told that Nuhu is next on that series of things. Craig Weibel told us pretty simple. If there's any turnover that's going to happen in this team, it's going to happen through transfers. He's going to pick up a lot of those options. He's going to ship and deal guys. That includes Danny Musovski. I am a true believer that sometimes when a stock that's been low gets really, really high, you might want to sell it. Mm-hmm. Just go ahead and capitalize on what you got. I think that's what you have to do with Danny Musovski, and then go find somebody else. You got to get better at that position in terms of talent and depth. So that's the way I would handle it. I think that's going to be the way it's going to happen. But those are the 2 pieces of news. The other 2 that are more updates that people might not know are complicated. Mm-hmm. Number 1, Obed Vargas. Negotiations are ongoing, but there still seemed to be no closer than it was 2 months ago. What does that tell you? That if the negotiations are this hard, there's a good chance, or that increases the possibility, that Obed Vargas goes in the winter window, because Seattle cannot wait to figure out if a deal gets done. The transfer window for the winter closes, and now you're forced to wait till the summer, when all of the leverage will be on Obed's camp by saying, look, we could sign a pre-contract with another team and we don't need you no more. And Seattle cannot allow Obed Vargas to walk on a free. It would be a disservice. It would be blasphemy. It would just be a job losing type of situation for everybody involved in the Sounders side. And then obviously, in my opinion, I think that the best thing that Obed Vargas could do is take the contract, give himself some time. His main objective this year has been playing for the Mexican national team. No one that wants to be in a national team makes a club change so close to the World Cup.
Yep.
You don't know if you're going to play. You don't know if there's a curveball. Regardless of where you go, PSV, Bruges, Atletico Madrid, you don't know if you're going to play. So I thought that was going to be part of the decision-making, where Obed was going to take the deal that he's getting and give him some time to go play the World Cup, and then we'll figure it out afterwards. But it sounds like it's a compensation thing. The Seattle Sounders, for what I'm hearing, of offering them the max that they can possibly give them, which in my opinion is, not in my opinion, but in my understanding of the situation, it's $1 million, which is the max cap for the U22 spot. That seems reasonable, but it just hasn't gotten any closer. And then the other one that I think it's probably even less positive is Paul Rothrock.
Huh.
He's walking. I mean, that's just the way I'll put it to you and your audience. He's going to test the free market. The number that I got, that it's the maximum he can get, is $830,000. The Sounders are not willing to pay him that much. And what I'm hearing is that Paul Rothrock and his camp have no desire, no intent to go any lower than what they are trying to get, which my guess is between 800 to 830. And so that puts us in a place where the Sounders are not going to give you more than they can, which you and I have talked about. That is the Jackson Reagan baseline of 600,000. So with that in mind, I think that Paul Rothrock is going to test the free market. He's going to figure out if there's other MLS teams that can give him that sort of money, or abroad. And then if he can, then maybe he can go back to the Sounders and say, you know what, never mind, I'll take what you guys were giving me. But that puts us in a position where there is a big possibility that Paul Rothrock, or probably Primetime, won't be in Seattle for 2026.
Right now, according to our friends at the MLSPA, Jackson Reagan base of 600, full comp is 610. Paul Rothrock is on the step up above the rookie men. He's making 104 right now. That's that number, the U22 max within your contract. Use it 104. Then you look at, and that's guaranteed. That's both 104 and 104. Nothing else over the top. Then Obed Vargas, his baseline compensation is 125. Guaranteed comp, according to MLS players, is 134,452. So you're looking at two individuals that are basically looking for something akin to a 600% increase in their yearly salary. And you're thinking Rothrock's going to walk, or at least kick the tires on the market, and Obed Vargas is looking for that 800 to 840, huh?
Correct.
Okay.
I think in Obed's situation, he has all the leverage, right? And again, for Obed, if you're offering him $1 million, that's plenty of money that's worth giving him, because you're essentially going to make 8-9 on a transfer. But Paul just doesn't have any sort of leverage. Not to mention that regardless of all the things he does good for this team, because I love Paul Rothrock, I'm a big Paul Rothrock guy, there's just a lot of depth there. You know, when Pedro comes back, when Paul Arriola comes back, I mean, there's just so many, Georgie and Ryan Kent. he's a possibility now, right? I mean, if you're going to spend 830, or that's what you're being told that you need to spend on him, go a little bit more and you spend $1 million plus on, or less than $1 million, a little bit, or a little bit less than that on Ryan Kent. Now, would I rather keep Paul than Ryan? Yeah. But if he's forcing the Sounders' hand, I mean, it's going to be difficult. I'm wondering how much Christian Espinosa would cost. I mean, Christian Espinosa was just told that he wasn't going to return to the Quakes. Man, Espinosa is a phenomenal player. So, there's a lot of things that I think Paul Rothler's camp isn't quite looking at. And sometimes when you're a walk-on in a team, man, you got to just continue to build up your name rather than playing hardball.
And Espinosa is a name that's out there. Walker Zimmerman, for those interested, Walker Zimmerman's name is out there. He wants to test the free agent waters as well. And we'll see these names kind of trickle in as to what it's going to look like between now and December 11th, when you've got to get all your decisions in. And we will go from there. What's the weekend like as we are getting through the international window? And we're going to have chaos on Tuesday in CONCACAF, and then it's all going to pick back up again just in time for us to revisit next Thursday. What's on your mind?
Yeah, well, we're hoping to get a end-of-year conference with the Sounders. I mean, the Timbers got out after the Sounders did, and they already did their conference. So I'm trying to figure out when this is going to happen. I'm not sure what the holdup is. They're trying to find agent. They're trying to find Craig. I don't know. But I'm hoping that early next week, we have that available. But for now, we're just doing a lot of end of season content. We're going to do what we learned this week tomorrow with Jeremiah O'Shan. We're going to bring in a whole lot of this new information that is going to change the look of the Sounders coming up next year. The new owners that are going to come in, how the calendar is going to change, the decisions that are going to have to be made around the stadium. We'll talk about a lot of the things that we talked about today. We'll see if anything has changed. João Paulo is one that's going to be very interesting, because at some point I thought that he was on his way out and maybe thinking of coaching and things like that. But after getting back in the field, you get that itch back, you know what I mean? And you feel like you can still continue to work out. So it's going to be interesting where that goes. So we're going to go into all of that and see if there's any additional information that we've been able to gather on Obit, see if anything gets done. And then, of course, on Monday with Ari Lillenwall, we'll do kickoff, and then we'll break down probably some USMNT. We'll see what happens with Christian Roldan in the camp. We'll talk about some of those MLSers that are part of the USPS national team. And we'll look to the week ahead of what's going to happen with the matchups of the MLS playoffs.
And we will have you back here on Thursday on the normal day, unless there's another earth-shattering press conference here in the market that we all have to attend for all hands on deck. As always, my friend, great to see you. Love you very much. We'll catch up with you next Thursday, 6 days time to set up the next round of the playoff.
Appreciate it, my friend. Have a good one.